forward, we have pieces of legislation that indicate that we must develop in an integrated approach, and our project should be risk-informed. We are still having challenges around this particular matter. And the second concept is on compensatory. What happened in the past? Let us not develop going forward. We must also look at infrastructure that was developed in the past. A classical example could be a low-lying bridge. If we are very or having officials within municipalities, they will identify these bridges in the IDP to say this bridge, it was relevant 20 years back. Today is no longer relevant because of the impact of climate change. I don't want to blame climate change. This is a classical example of disasters that we're experiencing in the province. But disasters are the outcome of poor development choice. There should have been studies before this RDP house was constructed. So these are some of the challenges that on a daily basis. And then even the next slide is development, and then lack of maintenance of our infrastructure. Normally we advise municipalities to clear stormwater drainage system before the rainy season, even after. It's very important. The next slide is on the implementation strategy, which has 4 key performance areas, and they are supported by the 3 enablers. The first one, it talks to integrated institutional capacity for disaster management, disaster risk assessment, disaster risk reduction, and disaster risk response and recovery. So the next slide will deal with the progress that we have registered as a province on the implementation of the legislation. The law requires us to develop a provincial policy framework, including district municipalities. We have those plans. Whether they are still relevant is another issue. And the policy are being implemented across sectors. And then the law also requires us to establish a disaster management center for proactive and reactive integrated disaster management. The center is not for COCTA, it's for all of us, for planning of disasters. We have also established the advisory forum with diverse representative, national department, provincial department, municipalities, traditional leadership. And then we further requested the department to appoint people in writing so that they become part of the advisory forum. And on quarterly basis, we discuss issues of disasters. The standing item in the advisory forum, we receive a presentation from South African Weather Services. We receive a presentation from the Department of Water and Sanitation and the Agricultural Research Council. And the purpose of this is to ensure that we plan for that particular season. And then we are further requested to develop contingency plans in line with seasonal hazard. Contingency plan can be your winter contingency plan, your summer contingency plan, event plan, and also contingency plans for the election. And then also the legislation, it requires us to integrate disaster risk into IDPs of municipalities. We are battling with this particular matter for municipalities to develop these plans so that the plans that are implemented, they address risk and vulnerability associated with the project before implementation. So we have pieces of legislation, but implementation is a problem. And we are further requested to do annual reports, that is the province and municipalities. So if I was a municipal manager, before strat plan, I would request that annual report so that we identify the challenges. And the legislation further requires us to develop Section 38 plans for department. This plan should include climate change impact and risk for that particular organs of state. So all 11 departments in the province, we have supported them and guided them to develop this particular plan. We have them. But the question is, within those departments, the senior leadership, are they aware that they have plans? And are they engaging on this matter in the DMCs and also municipalities? They are required to develop Section 53. Some of the plans developed by municipalities, they are frameworks. We need to revisit them. We have also a provincial plan, that is Section 39, and we have simulated this plan to check the applicability, to simulate and to test the applicability. During nuclear incident, every year we have exercise at NEXA, and then we have also responded to floods and earthquakes. Disaster risk reduction and climate change, they have cross-cutting, these are cross-cutting development issues. Like I indicated, we have good pieces of legislation and policies, but implementation is a problem. And they share the same goal. Our goal is to reduce vulnerability, increase resilience, and sustainable development. And further, we need to mainstream and integrate climate change into disaster planning. So what are the impacts? Climate change is impacting on weather-related hazard by altering the frequency. 2024-25, we had a huge damage on our infrastructure. And then also climate change will have a long impact, such as gradually increasing the temperature. It's very hot. We all know that. Changing seasons. In South Africa, we have only 2 seasons. That is winter and summer. That is the effect of climate change. They pose threat to sustainable development. And then if not mitigated, they have potential to undermine the achievement of our sustainable development. What are the challenges that we are facing as a province? Lack of bylaws and enforcement, if they are there. Municipalities allowing development in flood-prone areas such as wetlands and floodplains. Municipalities do not even incorporate applicable disaster management plans into their IDPs. Poor and uncoordinated disaster risk programs and projects. We are conducting awareness campaigns. DEDECT, they are doing their own thing. This department, but we have only one client, which is the community. Why can't we integrate and package information and share with the community? A lack of mainstreaming and integration of climate change into disaster management planning. The concluding remark, all of us, we have a role to play in disaster management. I think the definition is clear. We look at your constitutional and legislative mandate. If houses are damaged by strong winds or floods, it's a responsibility of human settlement. Road infrastructure, it's public works. Issues to environment, I think DEDECT will also have a bite to take. And this includes awareness. We all need to make a total mind shift towards a disaster risk reduction. We must move from a response to a proactive approach. Climate change also impact and response are cross-cutting in the nature, and the PDMC will work in collaboration with other relevant stakeholders to mainstream climate change in disaster management planning. Like I indicated, we have the Provincial Advisory Forum, we have District Advisory Forum. So I think going forward, we need to work together to achieve the implementation of the legislation. And I'm proposing that climate change should be a standing item in the Provincial Advisory Forum, including district municipalities. But there should also be a political will to support the implementation of the legislation. Sector department and municipalities take responsibility for hazard falling within their constitutional legislative mandate and mainstream climate change in disaster management planning. So these are pictures of 2024-25, the impact. Here it's in Moretele local municipality. And then this picture is just behind Mabatosan, if you decide to build. And these are the current realities in terms of the mud houses in the province. Thank you very much. What we need to do, we need to change because there's also climate change. Thank you very much.
Can we give him another strong round of applause? So I'm going to do things this way by the powers vested in me. I know that Kokta and Salga are siblings. So I don't want a situation where we start discussing issues under the presentation that was made by Ndate Musiane, only to find that some of the responses are going to maybe emerge from what Salga is going to give to us. So on that note, I'm going to call upon Mr. Lesego Shoroma to ascend the stage so that you can give us your presentation on projects that you are doing at local level here in responding to climate change. Can we give him a round of applause as he ascends the stage?
Program Director, thank you so much. Bakai Dumelang. I think I'll start greeting the traditional leadership in the House and my politicians, my governance structures, politicians, I saw some of them, and those that are not part of SALGA. And we have senior managers in the House and all managers and officials, students, NGOs, everyone who was invited in this event. Colleagues, I keep on watching the screen because I'm worried about the slides. My brain is very channeled into this presentation as it is, so I'm just worried that I hope it's not going to stop and then I start thinking out of the box. Anyway, colleagues, my name is Lesego Shoroma. I'm the senior advisor from SALGA. I manage a couple of numbers of functions of local government in the Northwest Province on environmental management, disaster management, fire services, and climate change. So I think most of you who are seated here, we are colleagues. We work together because SALGA is not an implementing agent. SALGA is not government. SALGA is not citizens, but SALGA is an enabler, colleagues. SALGA is an organization that enables municipalities to do its work. SALGA inspires service delivery in local government. SALGA speaks for the voiceless. SALGA speaks for the communities. I want to plant this into your brain that SALGA will speak government, but at the same time, SALGA will speak protection of the citizens that municipalities are responsible to assist. So that's my frame. Colleagues, South Africa is prone to climate change and climate-related risk. It's a given fact. Last month in Jay, let's talk about last month, colleagues. How many days have we experienced heat wave? How many days did we experience flooding in Bojanala? How many days did we experience strong winds that blown away roofs? How many days did Limpopo receive rain, which is over their capacity to cope, which became disastrous? For starters, it's a well-known fact that these climate impacts, they cause disaster management. They cause disaster risk. It's either it increases or it decreases. Not only in South Africa. And colleagues, I can assure you, the World Economic Forum has indicated now, even this year, that in the next 10 years, the number one risk that we will be facing, it is climate related. It is going to be so high that if a country finds itself not prepared, unfortunately the consequences are going to be devastating. Guess what? Not on anyone who's sitting here, but on everyone who does not have access to this information that we are having today, who does not have access to contribute to the strategy that DEDECT is actually sharing with us today. So I'm putting it to you to say, it is by virtue of that that we are saying climate change, disaster management, they go inter alia. Because they affect our communities. There are mortalities, there are infrastructure that has been invested for so many years, colleagues, and it gets destroyed just like that. There are houses, like Ntate Musiano was saying, that are built on floodplains. And some of us, we know. We have seen it. But my question is, what do we do? What is the Northwest University doing when they drive in an informal settlement which is under the servitude of ESCOM? They are encroaching, we know. Do we go to the municipality and report it and say, municipality, you have problems there, that they are coming, they are plenty, they are many. Next slide, please. Can we move? So I'm raising it as I'm speaking. I'm also trying to make us think as we go. As I'm the last presenter before the actual event that we will be having next to this. Next slide, please. Why is climate change or climate action crucial in local government, colleagues? We have noted that municipalities are the frontliners when it comes to do what? To respond. To what? Not only incidents of disasters, but also the impacts of climate change. Because the community will never march to DEDECT offices for answers. They will march to the mayor. They will tell Councillor Mgida, we have voted for you. Ra, we are hot now. We are getting hot of this heat wave. You are not telling us what to do. Because they are expecting action from government. That's how we taught them for the past 30 years of our own democratic dispensation. So we need to live up to it. Number two, we want to ensure that on local government level, the low carbon resilient society, it is being embedded, not only government-wise, but even within the local sector. Citizens need to understand why are we pushing for this. But it cannot only be done by DEDECT. We need to do it across all sectors. So it means we can't have somebody who is emitting on a daily basis and we say he's responsible for employment. At the same time, we are saying it's wrong. We are developing bylaws to stop him to do that. Meaning we need to fight together to ensure that they reduce their impact on the air pollution that we see on a daily basis, colleagues. Because it affects the population within that jurisdiction as a whole. Next slide, yeah. Program director is off. Yeah. Anyway, we have also noted, colleagues, that we've got a crucial role to play as municipalities, and a SALGA as a body that coordinates the membership of municipalities to ensure that they inspire services. So what we have done, we have started making climate change fashionable in municipalities. By hook or crook, we have started ensuring that we host international level events or platform or indabas specifically for politicians to understand their role. We started with mayors, colleagues. In 2025, one of us who's sitting here, I think is Mr. Pete Mailula, he attended a SALGA and PCC-led event where the mayors were given an opportunity to understand climate change and just transition so that they can, from their level as mayors, come back and ensure that they transfer that knowledge to their own committees to understand what are their responsibilities. Take-homes is one of the issues with climate change. We also wanted to ensure that we do not let climate change affect basic services, but we rather inform local government to understand the impact of climate change towards basic services. Because at the end, if climate change is going to affect basic services and found us not ready, it means communities are not going to have access to water, sanitation, public transport, and so on. We are seeing the situation in Gauteng. We are hearing promises every day. This morning I heard the Premier of Gauteng saying they have actually budgeted 276 million aside to come up with a solution for the water within the Gauteng. I said, at least they are reactive, but they are doing something. Instead of situations in rural areas, we know that they take too long. Communities have to actually understand that there's no water within their own space. We also want to ensure, colleagues, as much as we are SALGA, remember now, as SALGA, you are an enabler of municipalities to do services to the communities. You also have responsibility to empower individuals, to empower NGOs, to empower communities, whether it's religious faith groups, to start discussing their roles in this transition, where we are moving towards doing things different way as a result of climate change. So my projects, colleagues, are not projects like agriculture, you know, when Doc was saying yesterday, that yeah, we are doing this. And then I think the guys from Aegis, the water, they were doing projects on boreholes. No, my projects are non-stop projects. I do not have an end date where I can say we have achieved what we are doing. But what I have is process field. My projects are about influencing people to do right by their communities to understand that they also have a role to play. So as I'm standing here, I'm not standing here only, like I said, for SALGA, but I'm also speaking for those that are not here, so that when we leave, we also make sure that we do right by them. In terms of the Act, colleagues, next slide. There are portions, Program Director, that were proposed within the new Act, where municipalities were obligated to ensure that they actually prioritize climate change, not as a function, colleagues, but as a cross-cutting function. Climate change cannot have, we cannot say this is the Office of Climate Change when we are saying climate change affects all sectors. The moment we do that, we are going to wait, I don't know until when first the HR people must go and start assisting municipalities to start with the new organograms. So we rather saying they need to integrate climate change within their work. So what are those obligations for municipalities? One, municipalities are expected to have and understand their climatic risk and vulnerabilities. Two, they need to generate data, colleagues. There's nothing that we can achieve. Hausena Kitso, if I'm using the right word, program director. Information is important because you can refer. You can look back and say, like Ntate Musiano was saying earlier, to say the historical data makes sense to develop future solutions. And then lastly, municipalities were expected to develop action plans. You are jumping, can you go back? They were expected to develop action plans and also establish intergovernmental structures. So today, colleagues, one win that we have received, which I'm happy, the Provincial Disaster Management Center is saying municipalities and the sector of PDMC, they will start having climate change matter as a standing item in their Provincial Disaster Management Forum and the district. This addresses these issues of intergovernmental structures. But this doesn't say we are still not expected to establish our own, because we know what happens if you don't own things. We tend to make it the responsibility of the owner, even though we know it's not their function. So municipalities will still need to ensure they establish their own district, not local yet, colleagues. We are still on the district. Districts must establish their own intergovernmental structures for climate change, where they will discuss matters of climate change. Who they will invite, it will depend on the framework that is going to be given to us by the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. These are the technical guidelines. SALGA is supporting DFFE on the development of the technical guidelines and the issue of determination of the cost implication of the Climate Change Act. It is also another area that we are trying to play a role. Next one, next page. Then how do we lobby and advocate for the mainstreaming of climate change? That's another interesting part. Like I said, we do not want municipalities to establish own climate change offices, but we rather want them to mainstream climate change within their current work. But what do we do? We are going back and forth. How do we do it? We've come up with different ways in which we want municipalities to mainstream climate change. There are areas that we have identified, colleagues. We have identified that planning of the municipality, it is one of the integral functions that climate change needs to be mainstreamed. It means when people are doing planning, Ntate Colin Mbengu is here, he's one of our town planners. We need to ensure that they make provision for what climate change poses as a risk. So it means they need to take cognizance of those issues and ensure that they are being factored in their planning. If it means houses should not be built in the old traditional manner, we need retrofitting housing, it should be there. We should not allow people to build houses where we know that they're going to be flushed away by water at some point. Budgeting, we need climate change to be factored and its activities in terms of budgeting. Where do we do that? Into the SDBs, colleagues. So it means when we have a project, somewhere, somehow, it needs to speak on how will it address the problems that are raised by climate change, but on a municipal level, before we start provincially. Infrastructure investment and in terms of service delivery, I spoke on those ones. So the sectors that we are looking for, we've got spatial planning, like I said, electricity and energy. I think this one we know how does the government want to transit. Waste management, we speak about innovative ways on how to manage waste. We know that many of our landfill sites are not compliant, colleagues, and we can see that it is not getting better. So let's rather find ways in which we can introduce ways like DEDECT was showing us today. they have actually came up with garments made of waste, you know. So those are the things that we want people to start thinking of, out of the box. Public transportation issues, human settlement, water and sanitation. And then we have also noted that all these issues, unfortunately, they need to be packaged. If you want Ntatem Gida as a councillor to invest or to go and advocate for budget for this in municipality, it needs to be packaged. It should come in the form of a plan with actions that are costed. How will this spend? How many people do we need to do this? So Salga said, let's also prioritize the establishment of climate action plans per district, which encapsulate all other locals in one. So it means districts at some point, they will have to sit down with their locals and identify issues that needs to be factored in within the climate action plans. We also need to ensure these climate action plans, they speak to each and every sector, number one. They also need to make sure that they address who and when do they, remember it's an action plan, colleagues, it must have a stop. Because if an action plan does not have, when do you want to do this? 2030 will come, the new politicians will come and they will never prioritize the things that you are suggesting to them. So we need to be quite strategic on how we guide. And then furthermore, integration of climate change into IDPs. We have noted that some of these, we draw on local knowledge, we adjust our plans, we estimate baseline emissions, we also ensure that municipal plans fit with plans of the institutions that are related. So it means a municipality cannot plan in the absence of their own custodians who owns the legislation. So a municipality cannot come up with these plans and then DEDECT is not aware that a municipality is planning to do these things. What are the possibilities of a duplication? What are the possibilities of those plans are not really addressing the problem? So we need municipalities to be guided. What we are not doing as SALGA, we are not trying to push for duplication of planning, but we rather want to ensure that all municipal planning processes are channeled together. And we also want to ensure that there is a new planning or reporting template for municipalities that will be simplified at the end. Next slide. Next slide. I'll skip on these because we spoke a bit on them. SALGA support. Currently, this is what we are doing, colleagues. There is technical support and training that we are doing to district municipalities. One looks at the issue of reviewing the plans. But in the Northwest, we started with these plans, I think in the previous financial year. But when we have found out that the Northwest climate change strategy is being finalized, we had then agreed that we are going to stop with this planning, with the development of climate action plans, and wait for the provincial strategy to be done so that we can align the strategy indicators to the climate action plans of the districts. We don't want government to be doing this, municipalities to be going the other direction, because at the end, we won't be achieving anything. We will always be competing on what we are doing, but we are forgetting that we are different layers of government. We also want climate change strategies that will be found in the climate action plans to be aligned with the development plans such as the DDM of Kokta, the IDPs, and the Special Development Framework, colleagues. We want to push that once the climate action plans are ready, they are going to also form the basis of what these frameworks will be guiding. Fourth, we also want to ensure that we facilitate effective implementation. I don't know who hates the word implementation in South Africa. I hate it because we are talking about it every day. There's no document that will be presented here without somebody saying implementation, but we are not seeing it. We want to see every project that was presented yesterday. I wanted to hear a bit of We are working with JB Max Municipality. We are working with City of Matlusana. But I'm hearing university says they are working, but with who? We want that. Remember, colleagues, the jurisdiction on which we are working at, somebody is calling himself a mayor because of, because of the powers that we are invested in them. So we need local government to be included into these projects. I know that there's a lot of push, there's a lot of pull. But colleagues, it's upon us, because we know climate change, how difficult it is. If we are not going to fight for that space in the municipalities, municipalities will respond late. So I'm saying to you, as SALGA, I'm not saying municipalities are incapable, but I'm saying municipalities also needs to be guided by us together to understand exactly the level in which we really want them to work with us. We can write numerous letters. One day, it will get into the right hands and they will respond to our quest. Another thing that SALGA has been trying to do, it is also to open channels for accessibility of climate financing. But we are not doing it alone, colleagues. We are doing it with DFFE. They are taking lead. This is where we try to assist municipalities to apply for funding, whether it's international funding, national funding, to ensure. You heard yesterday during the presentation that was done by Mike Jennings, SALGA also participated in that. So that's what we are trying to do, to ensure that municipalities are able to also access funding. Because municipalities will tell you, Mare, hare funding, but you're expecting us to conduct these things. So it means we have a duty to direct them. And I'm speaking to universities now, because universities knows how to write proposals. Universities knows where are these funders relies. At some point, I worked for the Northwest University with Prof. Rulof. We know where these things, they are there. We just need to direct municipalities in the right direction. We also push for dialogues, colleagues. Dialogues for political leadership, to have conversations with the industry, private sector, NGOs, and others. We have also hosted town hall COPs where the thoughts and the ideas of the local people are factored in within the Conference of Parties internationally, colleagues. That's what SALGA, like I said, SALGA is an enabler, colleagues. We are not implementers. So we'll pull all our strength to enable that local government should find it easy to continue. Lastly, we have a new office, colleagues. It's called a Just Energy Transition, where they are currently pushing just energy issues. I'm not going to speak on this. Mike has spoken so much about the partnership to support municipalities, the project about Sanbi and Salga, we have spoken. Next slide, please. Next one, I think it's 3 pages, this one. I'm not going to repeat anything. It's exactly what he was saying yesterday. Lastly, success factors, colleagues. I know that, you know, there are times when, even when I arrived yesterday, some colleagues were saying, yo, you made it. I said, yeah, I had to come because I know the agenda that I'm pushing. Unfortunately, my agenda is not, if I miss 2 hours, it can cost me. So, like I said, we are very influential. We advocate for municipalities. So, in my advocacy, I want us to develop a way and a process where the strategy that the province will be presenting will be finalizing soon. It will form part of the priorities of municipalities, considering that the new councillors will be coming next year, January, the latest. So let's take that as for us, or at least we'll be dealing with new councillors. We'll teach them, we'll actually show them this is what we want going forward when it comes to climate change. Colleagues, let me stop right here, Chairperson. Thank you very much for your time.
Another very, very strong applause for him. What did I say? I told you that these people are siblings. So the next thing when he's presenting, he's also referencing in Tate Musiani's presentation. That's why I thought that we should just couple them together. And the one thing that I took home is the importance of planning, even though he's crying about implementation. But Dr. Musiani said that we want to plan when things are already happening. When disaster strikes, that's when we want to plan. And as DEDECT, Dr. Musiani, where is he? Oh, as DEDECT, we don't do it that way. That's why we are here today. We are coming up with a strategy and implementation plan so that we know what to do when disaster strikes. Ne? So we are putting in place, things that are going to enable us to either adapt or be able to avoid the huge impacts of climate change. So on that note, I'm going to give us maybe 5 minutes for engagement on the two presentations. It's either you are asking a clarity-seeking question, or you want to add, or maybe you want to challenge something that you feel strongly that it cannot be like that because we've tested it. We know it will never yield the desired goals or results. So the floor is open. I don't know if we've got another roving mic, but I do have a microphone here. Someone will have, or you've got one there at the back. Okay. Thank you very much. So by show of hands, I would want to take your questions. I will start on my left-hand side. Any takers? I've noted 1, 2 hands. Going once, twice, thrice the side. Okay, the third hand. So I've got 3 hands. I'm going to just take one round. Ne? 3, 4, and then 5. Then 6. The last one is here, number 7. Okay. In that order, we start with you right that side. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. My name is Rachel Mbe. I'm from the Department of Water and Sanitation. And let me start by appreciating the 2 presentations from the colleagues. Program Director, I am very much concerned taking into consideration the presentations that we've had from yesterday. The one from the colleague who presented on the Climate Change Act, and also the one from Metarina, and going forward with the one from Salga, from Lesego. It seems like there's a lot of work that the province needs to do. And I think it's very clear in terms of the expectations or the work that needs to be put forward from the different, from municipalities and from the different departments in the province. And my concern, Chair, is in the Department of Water and Sanitation, we have the National Climate Change Response Strategy for Water and Sanitation, which was approved in January 2025. So I'm just thinking, with all these things that we are mentioning, that we also have responsibilities on what we want to achieve. I think we need to start with the planning, as you just mentioned, that we need to start planning in terms of how best are we going to coordinate all the work that we've done, considering that each government department will focus on their responsibility. Like, for example, one of the things that we are tasked to do in the new financial year is to establish the water and sanitation status quo and to provide catchment-related information, knowledge, looking at monitoring information and all issues that relates to water resources within the different catchment. But my question would be that because we are now, March is next month, what are we going to do? When we leave this, I do understand that what is the objective of this workshop, but I think we need to come back and find a way in terms of the planning going forward. What are we going to do in terms of achieving all this? And my last worry, Chair, if I may, is the communities on the ground. Are we communicating with them in the language that they will understand? And I'll just leave it there, that it's one thing that I think we need to take it forward together with the universities. Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you very much. Next.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Greetings to all. I'm from Mamusa local municipality. Academically, I am an environmental educator. I stand to raise concerns from both the presentation of Salga and the COCTA. We are having challenges in municipalities where we have departments, for instance, the DEDECT. But in terms of implementing programs, you'll find the department only concentrating on the local economic development, but fail also couple the plan with environmental and conservation and tourism. Other concern that I want to raise is that as much as we emphasize the issue of implementation, is that we lack monitoring the projects, whereby you will find the municipality having a project of making roads, for instance. Yet in those roads, you will find the municipality implementing a plan of roads which does not have your stormwater bridges. That's the part of the disaster which contributes on the disaster in most cases. Therefore, the point that I want to make is that as much as we are emphasizing a point of implementing, let's also make sure that we do part on monitoring that things are done well, things are planned well, and we also raise correct concern on the municipality to say that we see that there is a department, but we don't see other part of the department being active in terms of delivering a service. That's one other part that we need to work on in most cases. Those are the points that I wanted to raise.
Thank you very much. The third speaker, I think, is here, MMC.
Ke tlwaetse go bua le ga ke bua ko counseling ke IML.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ke lebogele the presentation made ke Salga
Le COCTA.
le COCTA. Thank you very much. Salga ke ba rona, they are ours as local government, gore empower as councillors. Now, Chair, more the presentation in the di buiwa ke nagana gore ya the servitude under servitude. Yes, we are having crisis really the local municipality. You must remember gore there are land which belongs to Mahosi, there are land which belongs to the municipality. But when it's land belonging to Mahosi, people are taking chances today to say we regay buffer. Even if we are trying to address the issues, sometimes they are really the people at local. But if Ilya Maspala, we definitely act immediately. Rabanzi. Now, kinali issue I'm not saying the information should not be given to our mayors, because ili bona batsamaisi ba governance in our municipality, ba goromente in our municipality. But kinali challenge to say I'll be a mayor, ke be ke attend other issues, the relevant person not being there. Like you see today, I'm here. When I speak to the office of the mayor, they were saying, but Councillor Mukete, they are part of, they are the one who are responsible for issue of environment. Marafa, we are saying, cut across. Now, kinahana gore even more the issue tse kinaleng tate Musiane ko masepaleng wa Moses Kotane relevant to EPWP. Higher the meeting tse ding ba mmusa, but we are not the decision maker. Re batla MLCF over. Kinahana gore we must start re lebelle these issues ka leitlho to say the implementer ke bona ba tshwanetseng ba nne part of the meeting, so that ha tsena kwa ha mayor a sa mo fa the information a portfolio committee or to the relevant HOD can say these are the issues. Okay, kopela. And ke bua ka nako tsotlhe le in the workshop to say that engaging the implementers. Now, go na le issue ya ke nagana gore issue ya planning e botlhokwa. The 3 spheres re kgona go planner in time. Re se ra planner ka nako setse di disaster di le teng. Because we know gore our people, like I have said, gore go na le ba ba ipeyang anywhere. Ke di low mo the area e le gore ke the low ones or ke mo go leng di floods mo area e leng e seng conducive gore batho ba ka nna mo go yona. Ke batla le foko le now batho ba rona ba ipeya fela ke nagana gore the planning will assist us mo di issue tseo. And then okay ke bile ka the 3 spheres of governance. No thanks chairperson ke nagana gore the presentation gona di bua le rona di local municipality. And the 3 spheres is the government, ne? The government is very, very, very much important. It's locals because the constituencies are at local level. National, they don't have district, they don't have province, they don't have. It is us at local. But those challenges and the bearing of the issues that the communities are in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MMC. Thank you. Baro boletse tsona ne. Ke Ntate Machelete Ramola.
Thank you, Chair. And Chair, I agree with you when you said that Kokta and Sarga are siblings, because I've actually picked out one issue which both of them identified. I'm intrigued to note that both of them identify poor compliance or non-compliance with bylaws as one of the factors that are creating risk in terms of disasters. And I was just wondering that is this not a low-hanging fruit, as it were, for looking at reducing the risks? My question, therefore, is what is the plan? What are the engagements that these two institutions or departments are having around this? The colleague from the water and sanitation has, I think, started or has kick-started the answer to that in terms of the affordances of indigenous knowledge through language. That maybe language could be an important aspect that could be used to try and tackle a problem like this one. But I just want to hear their own perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who's next? There first. Menier Pretorius, who is, that Menier Pretorius, who was our presenter yesterday.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, thank you very much. I think most of the frustration that we have, it's not necessarily in policies. It's in monitoring and evaluation.
Okay.
You find that you have a lot of plans, a lot of policies, but there is no implementation. Hence, I heard that the Musian is saying that they give advice to municipalities to clear drainage systems before heavy rain falls. So the question is, if the municipalities are not doing that, then what happens? Does COGTA have a bite? Because that is a main problem we have. The second one about JB Marks, we were involved in drafting Dolomite risk management strategy for JB Marks. I think 12 years back. And that strategy gives them the steps to follow to minimize the formation of sinkholes and also destruction of infrastructure. But to this day, it has not been implemented. So there's definitely a lot of plans, but implementation is a problem. Maybe if COGTA as well as SALGA can say, if municipalities are not following, what do they do? Do they have teeth to punish the municipalities? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. The last hand here. Oh, yes, okay. Yeah, Mr. Wa Tourism first.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to everyone, and thanks for the two presentations. I also feel that it was wise for the program director to ask us to comment on both the presentation at the same time. Mine is not necessarily a question, but to emphasize what I think the second presenter already alluded to. We have to assist local government somehow. They are constrained with capacity as well as with resources, but that is where most of these problems manifest. So in my view, whatever strategy we are developing needs to consider these two limitations. My contribution, Chair, would be how best do we put together a frame that assists municipalities to even access resources aimed for the same function but outside government. And I think that has been a common thread in most of the presentation. We touched on it with the tourism fund, looking at disaster-related issues, but for us, disaster is closure of business. It's an erosion of a road leading towards an attraction, and people cannot get there, business is closed. I was looking at the infrastructure, even in the city centers. Most of the museums, art galleries, public infrastructure become the last to be addressed on issues of disaster. So meaning the recovery of the tourism sector will always be the last at a local government in terms of priority of resources. So how do we proactively put together plans that resource and capacitate municipalities to preempt disaster, but to also respond efficiently and effectively to disaster? So it's not a direct question, but it is something to ponder and something to consider when you're putting together a strategy that will guide those who do not have resources.
Thank you very much. Our last participant for this particular round.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Katlego Matladi. I'm from UNIAP SA. If you were not here yesterday, UNIAP SA is an organization that assists learners with career planning, primarily starting from grade 8 up until grade 12. Then matric, we execute applications directly to the institutions that they qualify for. With listening to both presenters being Mr. Lesejo and I think I came through the time the first presenter was still already commencing with the presentation.
Mr. Musiani.
Mr. Musiani, that touched on disaster management. One thing that I also picked up from both presentations is that government really has a long way to go, like in honest truth. Departments are facing huge problems as such, and they can't face these problems alone. They need help from stakeholders, they need help from NGOs, they need help from wherever they can acquire help from, because you can't be a strategist alone, you can't be brainstorming alone. You need other people as well to also throw in their 2 cents and also assist whereby you're not seeing the vision as well. So with that being said, I also want to touch up on implementation itself. I will use a broader example, which is UNIAP SA, which is the organization that I'm currently working for, how we do implementations, and based on that, what primarily takes place once we report to the Department of Education in terms of placements for the class of 2025 or class of 2026. How primarily do we do that? So firstly, it's a matter of planning, right? Like we do right now, this is a planning type of exercise. We are planning, we're strategizing, we are brainstorming on how we can solve certain issues, right? Then after that planning process, it's what we've been talking about, which is implementation phase. Implementation phase, it's where we measure the effectiveness and the efficiency of the program itself. Then with that being said, we monitor the program itself. Then after we evaluate. Then based on that, we do the report. So when we report on the key successes, the key failures, the key challenges of that the class of 2025 or that program that we're currently working on. So when we report on the successes, the failures, the challenges, and the way forward in order for us to structure the way things are supposed to be. So what's my biggest concern and worry is that if ever we don't have the right planning processes in place, if we don't have the right implementation plan, the right evaluation and effectiveness and efficiency measurement strategies in line, and we don't have a monitoring system as well, an evaluation system. I see ourselves next year still in this room, still talking about awareness and still brainstorming and still planning on how we can actually shift these matters to becoming matters of the past. But in terms of this year, this year, we should be actually reporting on those key successes that we experienced, the failures that also had to encounter, and as well as the challenges that we faced during the exercise that we're given. But if you don't plan those key essentials now, the factors actually now, next year, this time, I still fear the fact that we'll be still talking about awareness. So the time for planning is now. What I can suggest is that it's time for local government or departments to work with various stakeholders, UNEPSA, Glencore, and to mention the rest that are here, including universities and stuff, in order for us to solve this problem and this dynamic that's also facing the whole entire country. And also one thing that I took out from Mr. Masingi, the first presenter, Musiani, regarding disaster management, right? Mr. Musiani touched on the fact that they have strategies into place, but they're uncertain of those strategies still being relevant to the current situation. So that also strikes fear in me, then, that how can you have strategies but that are not perfectly aligned with the current situations that we currently face. So those strategies are aligned with what currently, what are they aligned with if they're not aligned with the current disaster situation that we're currently facing? And as for Mr. Lesoro from Salga, I just wanted to know, as local government, how do you hold accountable? I think it's a question that was asked by the gentleman over there. Do they hold incompetency accountable for not actually completing their duties and responsibilities? Are there any accountability measures into play that are designed to handle such situations once they arise? So that's the question that I'm going to allude to Mr. Lesoro from Salga. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Some were comments, some were just inputs for us to ponder on. Here and there we've had questions. So I'm going to allow the two presenters to take a bite where they feel that they need to respond, so that we can then move on with the program for the day. It looks like the microphone is delivered to you, Ntate Musiani. It means we will start with you.
No, thanks, Chair. I agree that most of the issues raised their comments, but also there was an issue around the bylaws and then also the circular that we issued to municipalities, or what happens if they are not implementing. You see, people who are working in that sphere of government, they are very clever. Sometimes they will say, no, the municipality is autonomous. When you get, we want information. But currently what we did, we elevated the matter to our MEC. We wrote letters through the mayor's office so that they attend to some of the issues that we are concerned with. And then I think also within the legislation, if a certain department within the municipality or a unit, the matter should be reported to the mayor. So currently we are sitting with officials within disaster management center, especially at municipal level. I don't want to say this, but sometimes they appoint people without a relevant qualification. So it gives us a very serious challenge. But currently what I can report is that national and cabinet, they took a decision that we are not winning with the current arrangement. So there's a review of the whole systems of disaster management. We received the first report 3 weeks ago. I think going forward, we will improve as government in terms of the implementation of legislation. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ramusiani. Lesego, do you want to take a bite?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I think for starters, on the issue of accountability, whether SALGA is able to hold municipalities accountable, unfortunately, there is no legal basis for SALGA to hold municipalities accountable. Your question has also been asked by the Minister of Quota to SALGA, that if municipalities are receiving adverse audit outcomes, what is SALGA doing? How can SALGA actually ensure that municipalities they do their work? So like I said, SALGA is a body that influences change. So we cannot hold accountability, but we can change the spectrum. We can work towards supporting municipalities hands-on to ensure that we are able to achieve the best results. But unfortunately, the exercise on its own is tedious, and it needs different parties to agree on their responsibilities at the end. Like the Demisian was saying, sometimes when you get to the actual problem, municipalities are able to say, we are a government on our own, so we have rights, but that, can also be influenced by even the systems inside, internally and externally, to ensure that they do the right thing. And then other issues, whether then, what is the next plan, step if such is not actually happening? Remember, these problems that are faced by municipalities in the Northwest are not new. They actually happen, throughout the sector. So these are some of the things that we are working on, developing local government positions for these to be changed. So what SALGA does, we write to Parliament, we present our findings, and then we also push for a change within that system, or we request for investigations by government into their own system. I'll give you an example. Currently, we came with a project on analyzing the current financial investment of municipalities towards environmental management and climate change. Our plan is, once we are done with this, we are going to present the findings at Treasury. Then Treasury will then go to Kochta. After Kochta, we'll then go to, we take their inputs, we go to Parliament with their inputs. Then once Parliament, they hear our case, NCOP actually, not Cabinet, but NCOP. Once NCOP has heard us, they usually will request for a further investigation. That's where SALGA says, we have won this fight. Meaning, if they agree that our findings are actually factual, that environmental management is underfunded, then it calls for Treasury to relook at their system to protect the sector in terms of financial resources. But it doesn't take a year, it takes almost 5 years to do that. So that's basically one thing that we are doing. Then bylaws, enforcement, compliance, chair. This is another, I wouldn't call it a headache, because currently we have established that Salga needs to adopt municipalities to assist them into developing bylaws, because some municipalities do not have capacity, as we have agreed. But now the question becomes, even if we come up with model bylaws, it assists in driving them to understand that they need to regulate. But I know one of the municipalities that once said to Salga that they do not want bylaws because of the traditional authority will never buy into it. So what does that say? It brings Salga to consult with the traditional authority, with the traditional House of Traditional Affairs, to come into the board, to understand that we've got expectations from their side as well. So one of the issues that the ways in which we thought this can be addressed is to establish a collaborative framework where we will be able to collaborate based on a framework that guides our steps, where people cannot decide to be involved once we are winning, but when we are losing, then they say they are not part of the collaboration. So we are pushing for that. We are hoping that it will actually work in our advantage. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Let's close this part of the session with a very strong round of applause. Yeah, as I am calling Adrian to ascend the stage to come and share with us the Northwest Provincial Climate Change Strategy and Implementation Plan, I just want to also say that in terms of the inputs, comments and questions that were asked after these two presentations, it's very clear. We're having a problem of integration in our various institutions. Integration is a key problem. That is the elephant in the room, which needs to be faced. And after integration, monitoring and evaluation, which is supposed to be also underpinned by accountability. It cannot be right, constitutionally, that is Shorom, it cannot be right that I am being given the responsibility as an institution and I cannot be held accountable. You know, the issue of stormwater drainage, I'm one person that I'm very much passionate about that when I drive around or when I walk around, and I always take pictures and I'll send to the municipality to alert them. And believe you me, they never respond. They will never react. They will just acknowledge that, okay, we have seen your message, yes, we'll deal with that. You go there 2 weeks down the line, it's still the same. It's not right. It is really not right. That's why I'm saying that constitutionally, it can never be acceptable for us to have an institution that is given the mandate and we cannot hold them accountable. Adrian, ascend the stage. Let's give him a round of applause as he's sharing with us.
Thank you, Program Director, and good morning once again, colleagues and councillors, colleagues from all three spheres of government. Thank you for the opportunity. So just maybe to add to what the Program Director said in terms of the capacity building and the disaster risk management, just to note, during the breakaway sessions that we'll have later today, there's ample opportunity to further discuss issues, because certainly those two issues are indicated in the implementation plan. So there's ample opportunity to discuss that issues later today during the breakaways. Now with that, this part of the presentation would be in two parts. I've been asked just to give you a brief background in terms of where this climate change strategy and implementation plan was born. And after that, I'll allow Dr. Rudolf Berger to come in and present the actual strategy to yourselves and explain also the proceedings of the day going forward. So in saying that, when we look at the current document that we have on the table, that was born in the early 2020s. Because during the early 2020s, while there is a number of provinces already had climate change strategies, but it only focused on adaptation. So when I speak of adaptation is how do we adapt to the impacts of climate change and build resilience towards that. So, and then we will also remember during the sixth administration to build a climate resilient economy and to reduce greenhouse gases was also a pertinent objective of the sixth administration. And in the working groups with the National Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, the discussion in the working group says, we've got all these adaptation plans and we've got greenhouse gas plans on the one side. How do we integrate that? Because at that stage, those two elements, adaptation and mitigation, was not integrated yet into one comprehensive plan. So therefore, there was a project that was launched by DFFE for 4 provinces, of which the Northwest formed part. So that was for Northwest, it was for Limpopo, the Northern Cape, and KZN. And they managed to secure donor funding from GIZ, which is, they call it like a federal institute, almost like an entity in Germany, through various offices that they have. They've got a office in Pretoria. So they sponsored our strategy for us, and they appointed a service provider at that stage, which was called Urban Earth, and they developed the first draft strategy for us, starting early 2021. And by the end of 2022, December, they delivered the first, what we called now the first draft Northwest Climate Change Strategy and Implementation Plan. Unfortunately, at that stage, the document could not be completed, and one of the gaps in the document was that the implementation plan was not conclusively finalized. And it left the department in a bit of a predicament because, as you know, we are undercapacitated as we speak in terms of climate change. But however, our directorate managed then starting from 2022 to review the document internally. And we picked up a number of deficiencies or gaps in the document, even further in the actual strategy document. So at that stage, there was like 26 goals, which was, when you looked at the flow of the document, it did not work. So through a consultative process internally, we revised the document to the current 7 goals that we have here, that you'll find now, and or goals or pathways that we will workshop further today as well. We also approached the CSIR in 2024, so that was an ongoing process, the CSIR in 2024, just to give us some guidance in terms of the policy direction, in terms of does it comply with norms and standards, is the document feasible, and the implementation plan. Also, realizing that in terms of the implementation plan, the deficiency we also had a big stakeholder consultation session at the end of 2022, where we refined the implementation plan a bit further, and which forms the bulk of what we've got currently in the document. So you'll see, to summarize everything, there was constant ongoing process internally and through a number of stakeholder engagements to refine the document further. But we also realized that we need to finalize the document urgently, and it still needed further public consultation. Therefore, the department appointed the Northwest University, here presented now by Prof. Roelof Burger, that I'll call now to the stage, to also workshop especially the implementation plan part of the document for us, and then assist the department with the final publication thereof. So that's where in a nutshell, where we are currently. So today's purpose would be for us to focus on the implementation aspects of this strategy. You've heard that there is some significant concerns when it comes to various goals. So there is a goal for disaster risk management, there is a goal for public participation and implementation. So hopefully today's discussions will further inform us in the finalization of the strategy. So, Program Director, with that, can you allow me to call Prof. Roelof Burger to the stage, where he will also further introduce his team and take you through the contents of what the proceedings for the day. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not sure if we should be excited or depressed. There is a different vibes here in the room. Can we see if you can share my screen, hopefully? Is it working? I still don't see it, though. There we go. Okay, so honorable colleagues, I'm not sure, should I say MMCs or MECs or everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you here. As Adrian set the context, I think there's one thing we should just clarify. What is our role here at the Northwest University? We found this document, so in a sense, it is just to support what we are doing here today. It's not something that we developed, but we are trying to push it over the line. And in that final push, what we're hoping for is to make sure that we get everyone's input. I'm hoping that the presentation can be shown. Yeah, you can just keep it like that. Maybe is it possible to take away the chats? Yes, something like that. So what I want you to do is to connect to this presentation. So we will be getting your feedback. Now for this we need internet access. I'm not sure if all of you have. I shared my phone, we were struggling. So if there's a few, maybe not more than 5 or 10, that can join using that link. If you can use your own one, it's better because we will quickly saturate it. To join, and some of the students can maybe start to help people, you have to either scan that QR code, or you have to go to the website menti.com and type in that link, that code, 7428 5233. And we will see people joining. You can see there's now 3 people that's joined. All right. You can continue with that while I maybe further introduce this topic. After our efforts in the province for the last few months, I'm left a little bit optimistic, and there is 3 reasons why what I can share with you while I'm optimistic. The first one is we from the university are really excited to be part of this project, and I'm not sure you know how willing we are to participate. I want to warn you, working with the university, you must remember it's not, we are not help to connect. Can some of the students run around and help people? I'm not sure I understand, Nikkei. Okay. So my first point, why I'm excited, and I want you to be excited, is because we are here in the province. We are not only academics, we live here, we breathe here. And now I want to warn you about working with the university. You must know that we are not consultants. We have distractions, right? We work on, so we can't give you 100% of our attention. But if you are willing to be patient, I think we can do some magic together. So just to show you who's in the room, everybody from the university, just put up your hands. See how many people we have here. You are not all putting up your hands, the students as well. Can you count how many people you are seeing? This is a significant number. I hope you appreciate it. And we could do better even. There is a lot of our members that are participating in this project that are currently on other projects. So you see, it is a reason to be excited. You have a university in the province, and we are engaged in this problem, and we are willing to put some effort towards it. Okay, let me start. Hopefully, we can continue to join. You can see the code there at the top for the students who is helping people. So we talked about this point a lot. The university, the slides don't seem to be progressing. I will just continue while it's trying to update. Okay. The university has a special group. The center is called the Center for Global Change. And you can imagine all these topics that we are discussing in the last 2 days are part and parcel of what we are focusing on in this center. So some of the people in the center, I'm the director of the center, but some of the people are here. If you can maybe quickly stand up. Firstly, Nikkei. Nikkei is interested in, she's an urban planner, cities, space. Those are the topics that's of interest to her. Next, we have Steve Upiu, and this is another important collaboration with the province. He's a postdoctoral fellow that's currently being paid by the province. And he's on a project in Kenya at the moment. Thirdly, we have Dr. Nisa Ayob. Nisa, you can stand up. Her expertise is in climate equality and resilience. Thanks, Nisa. And then Dr. Lindu Musa Muyeni, you met him yesterday, agriculture. Where is Lindu? I saw him here. Is he hiding? He's quickly stepped out. Okay. And then you might know Dr. Patu Mukwebu. He's also on a project in Malawi at the moment. So we're all over the place. But if you are patient with us, we are there to assist you. So if you are logged in, you will hopefully see that you can also follow the slides, even though they seem very slow up here. The next reason I'm excited, right? When we went through, we had 4 district meetings, and I met many of you in those meetings. I saw something very consistent coming out, and it's the same message that we heard here today, and this is the issue of governance. Now, why do you think that it makes me excited to hear you recognize that governance is an important challenge that we have to face? And the reason for that is there is last year's Nobel Prize winners for economy wrote this book. Hopefully the slides will update soon. The book is called Why Nations Fail. And the Nobel Prize is not only for the book, but for the research they've been doing. And I encourage every one of you must read that book, Why Nations Fail, by Agamoglu and Robinson. So this is now from a theoretical academic point of view. What is the solution to our problems? They say clear leadership and accountability, mandates that align with budgets, rules enforced consistently, coordination across sectors, long-term incentives protected, communities meaningfully included. These are the things that they are hoping for. So it seems we have a shared understanding of the root cause of the problem, right? Which is why the second reason why I'm excited. And then the third reason why I'm excited is these guys that won the Nobel Prize. The central idea, what they're talking about, is inclusivity. Inclusivity in the political structures and inclusivity in the economic structures. And these are the messages that we heard in the province. When we speak to the people, one of the very key things that I heard while I was listening to is for an example of what we need. And they were talking about these youth clubs, the groups that exist on grassroots level that needs strengthening. So just to summarize, what the academics would say is needed is these two things. Strong, inclusive governance. That means that there is not a powerful group that is keeping other people away from these important decisions. It's inclusive. Everyone in the province share in the governance of the province. And secondly, inclusive economy. That means there is no mechanisms keeping some people out of financial opportunities. If there is an opportunity, everyone can benefit, not just a small elite. So let me ask you this. Do you agree with it? Is it okay for me to say that this is a shared understanding of what we need in the province to succeed? These two things. I'm very happy. From an academic point of view, now we've done our job. This is what the research shows. If we want prosperity in the province, this is what we have to work for. And that is something exciting. We have a shared understanding of what we need. And just to let you know, I listen to all the people that seems frustrated, but this is difficult problems, right? It's challenging problems, and sometimes we have to also acknowledge that. I'm not sure why my pictures aren't showing, but this process is on that website. If you go to that website, www.nwccsip.org.za, you will find there all the information around this document and the document itself. It will describe what we've done. It will describe what is the purpose of this document. It will give you the actual document itself, and then most importantly, there's a place for you to give your inputs. And we encourage you, what we want from inclusive governance is everybody's input into this document. Okay, so we did the 4 district workshops. These workshops had many different stakeholders, and we tested these climate change strategy, actions, and implementation against real municipal realities. We used the theory of change logic, and what all of these processes that Adrian spoke about and that we did in the province ended up with is these 7 goals or output pathways. These are the streams that we will work through implementing all these activities. So 7 pathways, 27 objectives, and 101 actions. And you will see this in the next session. I mentioned the strongest message from the districts is governance. We asked them, what is the priority? And all of them agreed governance. And then we asked them, what do you mean by that? They said coordination, clear roles, accountability, implementation sequencing, and funded mandates. And then we heard, no, sorry, climate change is not a funded mandate. But we have to work climate change into the funded mandates, right? So the next few slides, I will work through this theory of change thinking that Treasury and government wants us to package these plans into. So we start by the problem. And in the 4 meetings, we discussed what do we think is the problem, to make sure that we all have a shared understanding, and I will read to you quickly what throughout these 4 meetings we said. The Northwest Province faces a complex and systematic climate challenge driven by a rising temperature, increasing erratic rainfall, acute water scarcity, and declining water quality. These climatic pressures interact with fragile and poorly maintained infrastructure, as well as persistent pollution and waste burdens, amplifying risk across critical sectors, particularly agriculture, health, human settlements, and core infrastructure systems. Vulnerability remains high across both urban and rural communities and livelihoods, with agriculture-based sectors especially exposed. Inequality between urban and rural areas further deepens this vulnerability, limiting the capacity of some communities to absorb and recover from climate shocks. These pressures are compounded by poverty, ongoing ecosystem degradation, and fractured government systems characterized by limited institutional capacity and constrained financial and human resources. In addition, the limited integration of indigenous knowledge systems into planning and decision-making weakens locally grounded resilience responses. A mouthful, right? But throughout these 4 meetings, we asked people, what is the problem? What is the problem? And every time we expanded this definition. And I think this is a good place for us to say we have a shared understanding of the problem. The next thing we asked people was, what is the drivers of this problem? And there we collected all these responses into the clusters. And the clusters were water insecurity, infrastructure fragility, environmental degradation, heat and climate stress, governance and capacity issues, livelihood vulnerabilities, and sector-specific planning failures. These are all incorporated into this document that we are trying to produce. We also, in this document, you will also find in Chapter 4 a detailed description of the climate hazards, which includes the emissions. Yesterday there were some questions, what is the emissions from the agricultural sector? That figure you will pull from the document and you will see there, I think it's 8 or 9% for the province. All right, so all of this, a good description of the problem and the drivers of these problems you will find there. Also, socioeconomic and infrastructure drivers, governance and system drivers, and then we get to our desired outcomes. And this you will find in Chapter 5 of this document, the vision, goals, and objectives. So if I can quickly read that to you. The vision is a climate resilient, low carbon, and inclusive Northwest province. The province aims to a province that has a strong and healthy economy that is less carbon intensive, is equipped with knowledge, tools, and systems to respond to climate risks, has communities, ecosystems, and infrastructure that can adapt and thrive under changing conditions, ensures that all sectors integrate climate considerations into everyday planning and decision making. And I think that is also something we can agree on. So we all know where we want to go. And this has been done through all of these steps. Now we are almost there, and today we will focus on what is the actions that drive us there. So these actions are grouped into what we call the outcome pathways or strategic goals, and you will see there are 7 of them. You all had to choose which of these are you most passionate about. Strong governance, reduced vulnerability, low carbon transition, resilient infrastructure and ecosystems, strong disaster risk management, better data research and monitoring, and improved awareness and institutional capacity. And just to unpack that a little bit more, we can phrase them into what do we want. The first one, coordinates climate actions effectively across municipalities and departments. The second one, protects people and livelihood from heat, drought, storms, and disease. The third one, builds a green economy with new climate-friendly industries and jobs. The fourth one, protects nature and water systems, restoring wetlands, rivers, and rangelands. then builds infrastructure that lasts even under extreme climate conditions, manages disasters proactively, not reactively, learns continuously using research, monitoring, and local knowledge, raises awareness and skills so everyone, from officials to youth to farmers, understands what to do. And this is what you will find in the document, is the strategic goals that we are working towards. So what will get us towards these goals? You will see the 7 goals, the 27 objectives, and the 101 actions. And very soon, there should be an example of these big A3 pages that we will share just after tea with you. On these pages, you will find the first column is these pathways or goals, goal 1 to 7. And this is the second round. You will group according to those goals. The second column is the objective. We have for each goal, we have a number of different objectives. And then the third column is the tasks. And we have 101 of those tasks. So what we want you to do after break is group into the sector that you identify most with. And we're hoping that we can get at least some people around each of the 11 sector tables that we've got there. So now you're sitting around the sector, you will try and think for the sector. You will try and for some time not to think about exactly where you're coming from, but now you're trying to represent that specific sector. And then first individually, you will read through each of these actions. And you will read an action and then you will decide, my sector, is this sector responsible? Should we lead this action? Or maybe we should just participate in it. And then if you say, yes, we should lead it, maybe who in the sector, specifically, which department or institution or company do you think should take leadership in this role? Let me read an example of some of these. It could be use feedback from forums to adjust provincial climate change actions, is an example of one of these actions that you have to think about. Is my goal, maybe the first one, your goal, your sector is maybe water and sanity, and you think to yourself, is water and sanitation responsible for this action? Is it responsible to lead or to participate? And you can imagine how important is this for the implementation. We stressed how difficult implementation is. And what we'll be doing is to make sure that we can link the action with the person that has to drive or participate into each of these actions. Right. I think I will skip through the 7 goals and quickly describe what we will do. So after break, we will meet around the tables. The first thing that you have to do is find your sector table. We've got the colors on the table, and we start with the big stickers. The big round stickers, you try and match the color of your sticker with the color on the table. And if there's tables with no people, we hope that some of you will be willing to move to additional tables. Secondly, you will receive one of those big A3 forms. We want you to put your name there and maybe contact details. We will follow up if we see you are passionate and you have a lot of comments, maybe we want some clarification, we will use that to follow up. Next, individually, you will work through each of these actions, and there will be a facilitator at each of the tables that will describe for you exactly what to do. You read through these actions, and then you think from this sector point of view, which are the important ones that we need to lead or we need to support. All right. And then after doing that individually on the table, you will discuss that a little bit and integrate that. The facilitator will be in charge of that. We will do that for about the first half of the session. And then for the second half of the session, we will move tables. We will reduce the number of tables from 11 to 7. And in these 7 tables will be the 7 goals or pathways that the document is structured around. And now you change from thinking about your sector to thinking about this goal, right? Now you don't care too much, again, what is the sector, because now we, through this action, we acknowledge that this is a cross-cutting problem, and we intentionally want to split up the different sectors, right? So we will work through these steps again, but this time there will be, the facilitator will have one piece of paper, and he will bring all of these ideas integrated into this one paper. You can see the questions there that will be asked. Firstly, we want you to think about which actions, for this specific goal, what actions do you think are the best, the most passionate, the ones that can be a catalyst for other actions in this goal or in this whole strategy. Then we also want you to highlight maybe fragile actions that is not so well supported or that there could be issues with. Then we will move towards theory of change. What is the greatest risk to the pathways? What is the key assumptions of the pathways? And then we look at implementation. And then second to last, we want to know for each of these 7 goals, who will be the champion of this goal? Thinking about institutions and departments, who do you think should be the champion? And then lastly, what are the most essential actions, right? So from round 1 to round 2, you must take your big sheet with you, right? So after round 1, you must take that A3 sheet and then you must walk. And while you are thinking, we want you to write on that big sheet. So if there's some action that you like, you can highlight, and we will use those sheets to try and get your thinking. All right. So with that in mind, can we see if we can get this technology before taking lunch? I've got just a couple of questions for you. Waiting for this one to update. On your phones, you should see a question now. It will say, how would you rate the province's current response to climate-related risks? If you can see whether you can provide a response for that. I'm seeing responses coming in. And just to let you know, we've got 52 people connected, and there's already 7 that's voting. I have no idea why it's so slow to update on the screen, but yeah, with me it's updating much quicker. It seems when we look at these responses, there is, we can still do a better job. And this is just to test the technology, but I'm glad we agree there is work to be done. That is why we are here. All right, so this is now just a test. The first real question is coming. Are you ready? So this is the question that Tarina posed yesterday. The question is, are we insane? Why do these known risks persist despite plans, policies, and awareness? And now you have to type in a response. So if you can think about what are the reasons. Tarina was saying insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We know these problems are not new. Why are we not seeing any updates? Why are we not seeing any progress? And I want you to type in into your phones or computers, what are the reasons? So here's some feedback. I've got the complexity of the problem, corruption, poor governance, poor implementation, lack of implementation, lack of political will, capacity constraints, people don't want to work together, lack of interest, sorry. Yeah. You can keep it coming, no coordination, lack of communication. So these inputs that you are sharing with us, we will make part of the report for this meeting, and we will be sure to share all of this with you. So it's an important way for us to make sure that everybody's voices are being heard, right? So if you're struggling, you can try and ask one of the young people to help, but let's make sure you keep inputting some reasons. Funding constraints, lack of accountability, lack of monitoring, other priorities taking precedence. So we've got about 25 responses, if we can keep that going. Okay, last question before we go for tea. Where is coordination the weakest? What would you say? You have to rank these 8, and this is a result of us hearing that governance is one of our key challenges. Where can we improve coordination? Okay, thank you for that. Hopefully we've started to get the juices flowing for the next creative session. So let's leave it here, and we'll come back after those 2 sessions for just integrating all the ideas from the 2 rounds, and then there will be a few other questions that's following. But thank you so far. Let's go and have tea and relax a bit.
Thank you very much, Prof. And let's give him another strong round of applause. That interactive session was very much interesting, wasn't it? It was not? Or a lot? I thought you were saying not. Okay. So as he has already indicated, we are to go for our tea break. And I know we had proposed to have 20 minutes for that, but I'm going to cut it to 15 minutes because we have arranged for 2 serving stations. Ne? So just be quick. If you need to go to the bathroom, dash to the bathroom, grab your cup of tea. And in the next 15 minutes, if you are not done with your tea, I take it, Tarina and Rudolph, we're going to be moving to the stations to do the cafe style, engagement. So we're going to move into the site, all of them the site. Okay, come and explain how it's gonna work so that everybody after tea, they know where they should go. We're not coming back here to plenary after tea, ne? We must go to the new setup venue for the cafe style for us to start doing the actual work.
The tables are all set out here on the side of the venue. So like Rudolph said, the color of the sticker that you have, you look for that color on the table, and then it will give you the sector that you selected. If you don't have a sticker yet, Rudolph, I think it's at the registration table. You can just go and get a sticker and select the sector that you want. But please just go straight from tea to the tables and find your table. Thanks.
So everybody must be seated by 5 to 12. Thank you very much. Let's start moving. Thank you.